Well, good morning, and welcome to hopefully an interesting look at one of the stranger aspects of music. As the title suggests, I will go through the mystery of the missing note. I will present the information, the case as it were, and I'll leave you to see if you can come up with the answer. This is a question that does crop up in advanced theory. I have come across it myself during the Viva Voce section of the teacher's diploma. I was asked this very question. It's a common one amongst exams beyond grade 8, as it were. So you're not expected to know this one up until grade 8. But it's still a very interesting subject. And I was reminded that a few years back, one of my pupils whose grandmother is a piano teacher up north had told him that about this this phenomenon, which I will get to later on. So first of all, I've got a little bit of text prepared, a little bit of manuscript prepared. So here we go. Hopefully this is all coming through for you okay. The term equal temperament was around in the days of Johann Sebastian Bach, who lived until 1750. He was born the same year as Scarlatti and Haydn, 1685, and lived till 1750. So we're talking 270 years ago, more than, was when J.S. Bach, Johann Sebastian Bach, wrote the great 48 for the Well-Tempered Clavier. And in fact, I should have here, if I come out of this one just for a moment, I will just show you a picture. I think I'll need to photos. Yes, there we go. So the Well-Tempered Clavier, and this is the Bach number, is a collection of 2 sets of preludes and fugues in all 24 major and minor keys, composed for solo keyboard by Johann Sebastian Bach. Interesting to note that in Bach's time, clavier simply means keyboard, and it was a generic name indicating a variety of keyboard instruments, but most typically the harpsichord, the clavichord, but not excluding the organ. Remember, the piano had only just been invented and was not a popular instrument at the time. Okay, so we're going way back in history. Okay, let's come back to this then. What is equal temperament? To put it simply, originally, going back before equal temperament, the black keys as we know them on the piano didn't have the same name. So C sharp and D flat were not the same note. C sharp was a note slightly higher than C. D flat was a note slightly lower than D, but they weren't the same. And in fact, in a museum up in Edinburgh, there is a very old harpsichord, I believe, that has the system of a larger black key for one of the notes and a smaller black key to the side of it in order to give you the other version of that note. Obviously, this crazy situation soon was eradicated, and we ended up with equal temperament, which was such a good idea that Bach was inspired to write his 48 preludes and fugues, including stuff like the very famous prelude in C, which was the music to which Gounod later added the hymn Ave Maria, and of course things like the prelude in C minor. And as I say, 48 preludes and fugues. That was two books in all 24 keys, 12 major to 12 minor keys. Okay, so just carrying on down here, we have our system in Western music for the last 300 years at least. Our ears have got used to the idea that the octave from one note to the same note, double frequency, so an octave higher, it's the same note, same letter name, but an octave higher, is divided into 12 equal, we call them semitone steps. So typically we've got C, we've got C sharp or D flat, a gap there for E, that is not the missing note, D is not the missing note. I can't remember why I didn't put it in. D sharp or E flat, E, then F, F sharp or G flat, G, G sharp, A flat, A, B flat or A sharp, B. In fact, if I just come back out of that for a moment, you can see exactly what I'm on about here, where we've got our C, C sharp and D flat. And you see them, so you've got your, let's try and get this. Yeah, there we go. There's our, it's difficult to do it in reverse, but anyway, there's our C sharp and D flat, C, D, D sharp and D flat, E. Obviously, we've then got our F, G, G flat or F sharp, A flat or G sharp, A, B flat or A sharp, B, and C. Okay. So you're kind of with me so far, I'm sure. And of course, in music, there are 5 signs of inflection. Inflection means simply to change slightly the sound of. And that's what these signs do. A sharp sign raises a note 1 semitone. A flat lowers a note a semitone. A natural, of course, returns a sharpened or a flat note to normal. The double sharp looks a bit like an X, raises a note 2 semitones, and the double flat lowers a note 2 semitones. Now in music, we have 7 alphabet letters, as you saw, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. There are no other letters in music. So we have 7 alphabetical letters in the music alphabet, and there are 5 signs of inflection, which means that in music we have 35 different names. Now, as I say, these names are, well, let's have a look at the next bit. We've got 12 keys, 7 white and 5 black. And we've got 3 names for each of the keys, in fact. I'll go through that in a moment, but each key on the piano can be named 3 different ways. And so if each key on the piano can be named in 3 different ways, and this was what the lad a few years ago said, that yes, his granny had confirmed to him that each key on the piano can actually be named 3 different ways. Well, that would give us 36 names. But in fact, there are 7 alphabet letters and only 5 signs, which gives us 35 names. So here is the mystery of where is the missing note. Let me just elaborate a bit further. Okay, so the note of C can also be called B sharp, but the note of C can also be called D double flat. The black key C sharp can also be referred to as B double sharp, but also can be referred to as D flat. Again, I think if we go back to our photo of the keyboard, let's put that one up. Okay, so here, for example, C is also B sharp, but it could also be called D double flat. There's D, there's D flat. So D double flat is the same as C. This note here is D flat or C sharp, but can also be called B double sharp. D can be C double sharp or E double flat. So as I say, every note on that piano can have 3 different names. Well, one of them can't. If there are only 35 names, then every single one of our keys cannot have 3 names, because that would come to 36. There must be a missing letter name. And this was the question that I was asked, one of the questions I was asked, using the question, if I remember it word for word, was with the use of enharmonic change, every note can be named 3 different ways, except for one. Which note can only be named 2 different ways? Now, so that is the challenge, to see if anybody can come up with the name of the note that only has 2 names rather than 3 names. Practical usage of enharmonics. A lot of people will be saying, hold on a sec, Paul, this is crazy, you know. Why do you need all these different names for these notes? Well, hold on a sec. Did I hear the door? Just be 2 seconds. Did I hear the door? No, nobody there. Okay, so where did we get to? Yes, let's have a look at the sort of practical usage of enharmonic change. Because a lot of people say, well, this is all well and good in theory, that you've got these 3 different names. But when would you ever use double sharps and double flats? You know, we understand sharp, flat, natural, but why would you want double sharps and double flats? In fact, first of all, let me pop up this one, because this is really important, because here is the scale of G major. Most people know that the scale of G major has the note of F sharp in it. Now, a scale is a series of 8 consecutive notes, starting from one note, going to the same note an octave higher. And every note must appear within that scale. It must go up 1 step at a time. So if that's the scale of G major, the scale of G sharp major has to be G sharp, A sharp, B sharp, C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F double sharp, and G sharp. Now, I do agree, you don't often come across tunes in the key of G sharp major because it requires so many sharps. Normally, a tune in the key of G sharp major would be written instead in the key of A flat major, which would only require 4 flats. But we'll put that aside for one moment. What you can't have, for example, I put this in as an example. There's G sharp major scale, correctly written, correctly named. Here is G sharp major scale. If you played it, it would sound as G sharp major, but with the enharmonic changes, we've got G sharp, then B flat. B sharp is the same as C. C sharp, E flat, F, G, A flat. We cannot do that with a scale. You cannot alter the fact that in a scale, every letter has to appear once until you get to the octave. So, as I say, sharps, double sharps do exist, but what about a more practical use of them? So consider these 3 notes here. And in fact, let's look at this particular tune here. This is Billy Tom's Reel. Credited here as being in John Buchanan's Scottish tune, page 1491. It should, of course, be there should be credit given to the composer, Jim Johnston. But here is, as I say, very well-known tune, and I want to direct your attention to this bar here. Here we have G sharp, G natural, and G sharp. Here it is presented again. G sharp, because of the key signature, that note is G sharp. Here's G natural, and here's G sharp again. And in actual fact, from a theory point of view and from a practical point of view, those three notes should have looked like this: G sharp, F double sharp, and G sharp. Remember, F double sharp is the same note as G natural. There's our F. That note is F sharp. Next to F sharp is G, but it's known as F double sharp. As I say, we've already established the fact that we need a double sharp in the scale of G sharp major. And the reason why this tune needs the double sharp is because two reasons. Firstly, we have to use two signs of inflection in this bar by calling that note G natural. By calling that note G natural, that contradicts the key signature. In order to then put the G sharp back in again, you have to resharpen it. You have to use two signs of inflection, when in actual fact, we only need one. But there's an even more important reason for using the note of F sharp. And that is from the point of view that what we see here are three notes all on a line. And yet they sound they don't sound like three consecutive notes. They sound like this. We start with the G sharp, we go down a note, and we go back up a note. And so therefore, that bar is correct for two reasons. First, we only need one sign of inflection, the double sharp, and what we see in the music coincides with what we hear when we play the music. Now, obviously, people are far more familiar with the term G sharp, G natural, G sharp. I suspect, strongly suspect, that whilst Jim Johnston knew perfectly well that, and the people that wrote the original Jim Johnston book, that F double sharp would normally be the preferred name for that note, they decided to go with the G natural in order not to confuse the issue. But elsewhere in the tune, for example, we have the same situation, a note going down a step, a semitone, and back up. But on this occasion, of course, we're coming from the natural note E, quite simply down to D sharp and back to E. But here, as I say, from a purely theoretical point of view, that note should have been written as an F double sharp, coming back to a G sharp. I say we don't need to do anything to that G sharp. That G sharp is still being sharpened by the key signature because it was never contradicted by a natural sign. Okay, so just going back, as I say, to the sort of question which I will pose again, and please do pop your answers in the comments section, and we'll see who can come up with the right answer. So, and as I say, this lad that came for lessons, he said that yes, his granny had pointed out that there are 12 keys and each one has 3 different names. And I said to him, well, I don't agree with that, because there are 7 alphabet letter names and there's 5 versions of each of those 7 letters. Yep. the alphabet, the musical alphabet, is A, B, C, D. Let's put up that other photograph. The musical alphabet is A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Then each of these notes can be sharped. A sharp, B sharp, C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F sharp, G sharp. Each of these notes can be flattened. A flat, B flat, C flat, C flat, D flat, E flat, F flat, G flat. They can be double sharp. Every note can be double sharp. A double sharp, B double sharp, C double sharp. Okay, every note can be double sharped, and every note can be double flatted, giving us a grand total of 35, which means, as I say, one key on the piano has only 2 names. Now, you'll be pleased to know that I did actually know the answer to this particular riddle, having been pre-warned by my dad in preparation for the Viva Voce section of the exam. As I say, it's one of these things that it's there in theory, but it does, on this occasion, it's one of these items of theory that does have practical applications. And as I say, there is one of them. I have come across some pieces of music with literally dozens of double sharps and double flats. They do exist. They are used. As I say, we would have had, or we should have, an F double sharp there in this very well-known reel. But as I say, sometimes the feeling is keep it as simple as possible, but I'm not sure how much simpler it makes it by calling it G natural and then G sharp, because as I say, the problem is the music doesn't replicate the sound. It does here, we hear a note going down a step and coming back up. Here, the music just looks like 3 notes all on the same line. Anyway, that's all I've got for you today. Hope somebody comes up with the answer. If not, then I will do that later on. In the next few days or so, I'll probably put up the answer if nobody's able to discover it. Okay. Thanks again. Catch you all soon. Bye for now.